Hi, Jenna. I wanted to begin by complimenting you on your introduction to your counseling session. I loved the scenario where you said that you were, working for that the business hired you. And I love the introduction. I felt like you told him completely what you were there for, and I really liked that. I think that you handled it really, really well. I also liked the scenario that you came up with, working for a business and you were talking to the employees, because I could actually see and visualize that happening. I could see someone sitting behind a desk and calling, employees in to visit with them, kind of, just to fill them out about what's going on within the company. And I think that y'all handled that scenario really, really well. I felt like you stated your intentions very, very clearly, and you let him know exactly what your purpose was. I also liked that you began by asking him very clearly, do you have any questions before you even began? That was neat because I feel like you spilled a lot of information, letting him know that you weren't going to solve all his problems, but you were just there to give advice. So after you gave your introduction, told him everything, you gave him the opportunity to ask any questions before you jumped into the bulk of the situation. I also liked how you were able to keep your composure whenever he got tangled up on I think he said something about children running and running children. I know that with me and my husband, it was my husband that recorded the video, and we had to do about 30 takes because it was so hard for me to keep my composure. So I think that's very important, because when you're sitting there talking in front of people and people are telling you about their problems, you have to definitely keep your composure, and I could tell that you did a fantastic job at that. I loved how you started with him telling you a little bit about himself. I feel like with him telling you about his hobbies, that he likes the outdoors, and he was able to talk to you about his children, I feel like that made him feel comfortable, because I know that if I were working for a company, I would be hesitant about talking about problems that were going on. I would hate to get on someone's bad side. I'd be worried I would feel a little intimidated by talking about any issues with any other people there. So I feel like you were able to break the ice by getting to know him a little bit before you jumped into the situation. I also liked how the exercise where you picked out the values. I know that when I'm under pressure or I'm like in the heat of the moment, I sometimes can't think of, I can't answer the question. So I felt like when you provided him with those choices, he was able to look through the list and really choose what were important to him. And stemming from the values, I loved how you focused on each value, and he was able to tell you why he chose each value and why it was important to him. And throughout the conversation, you stemmed back to his values. You asked about leadership many times. How did he feel like he was fulfilling the leadership role? And I just really liked how you touched on values, because really at the end of the day, our values are what are important to us. And I feel like you were able to coach him along. You were able to show him that what he was feeling, he was internalizing everything. I loved that you were able to tell him why he was feeling those things, and you let him know that it was normal, and you also stemmed back to how his job and how the current situation was affecting his values. I love how you closed it up with a goal. I don't feel like you gave any advice like we weren't supposed to. I feel like you were able to close it really, really well. Like, I can see a counseling session actually ending, and you were able to help him set a small goal, and also it reflected his values once again. Leadership, that was what I could tell was really important to him. I also liked how you threw in the pros and cons. I feel like that helped him to also really think about the situation, the pros of what's going on and the cons of what's going on. And I really I felt like him saying working on leadership his leadership skills and coaching along the fellow employees, I felt like that was such an awesome solution to the problem. So I feel like you really nailed it. It was really great. Thank you for sharing.